Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Suzerain. So, hopefully, request a meeting with Joseph, Senior Ministry of Defense. We do have some news. Health requires more resources. The hidden power of men in uniform. No political leader in Sordland can survive the office without some support from the general staff. I mean, I'm hoping that there's not a coup. That seems like it could be bad. What's going on here? Van Horten has won the election. That's basically fine. I mean, the only thing we really have to do is talk to the capital. Privatization plan proposal, general staff gathers. I'd rather the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Hostlord. The gray and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. Always made me feel like I was standing under a concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small. I never quite got used to the feeling even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Joseph and his military entourage of young officers. "Oh, the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office." We walked corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we finally arrived at Joseph's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Where's Vulcan? He usually partakes in military meetings. Vulcan is busy at the moment overseeing the defense strategies against Rumburg. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation in Rumburg is getting worse, and our lack of funding in the military means that we would fight us for survival in a war scenario. I mean, what are our options for improving the situation? We are making all necessary preparations, but any substantial military support from other nations would be welcome to turn against Rumburg. As a result of recent Trail of Wayland, we have started reinforcing the border. Forward scouts have been deployed, and we have started moving our divisions. Rest assured, we're ready for anything that will come from other side of the border. We are providing our reports to you. We don't know what we're dealing with yet. We are always ready for any situation, Mr. President. Joseph clears his throat. Let's move on to the main topic. The manner of conscription law is becoming a matter of discussion, and we need to strike the decision whether or not to keep it or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a larger reserve pool that can cover a larger front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality of to be offensive elements. My argument would be to remove conscription if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them. If we're going to have strong allies, why do we need conscripts? A strong knock was held on the door, and the chief of the armed forces, Vulcan Kruger, walked in directly to the frown. "What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What's going on here? You're overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the president." Vulcan deliberated the situation. "I see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations, and I must be informed of any strategic changes." Thank you, Mr. President. We'll be talking about our national defense. We must be consulted among all staff. To clarify, we would have brought the subject up with the general staff and you. The matters are both simple from my point of view. We kept our traditional army doctrine. It is not devoid of disadvantages. However, at the end of the day, Rumburg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill a much needed weakness we have. Throwing bodies at a problem never solved. I'm not sure if this is the right approach. But we can't have less troops in the front line than the enemy. Not with our current situation focused on mass mobilization. I ask you to reconsider. You know, we'll keep conscription, Mr. President, but you heard your superior, Joseph. Joseph threw an angry look at Vulcan before turning to me. "As you wish, Mr. President. Let me look over my documents, see if there's anything else of concern." Joseph checked his folder before looking at me. "That's about it. I won't take any of your time." I saluted Joseph. I saluted and Joseph saluted back. I left the Ministry of Defense and returned to Maroon Palace. So he's not happy about that. We've kept conscription, which I'm assuming you're probably not happy with. Okay. Win March for equal education in Rica. That's not where we went before, but that's okay. And let's look at these. We have 3 economy points? We've gone down. Shit. The team gathered in Hosler at the Ministry of the Economy and conducted an economic overview meeting to go over the current situation. The building was constructed in 1892 by Herman Walt, one of the, if not the most famous architect in Sordland. The building looks simple and elegant, with a few of his signature domes spread over the roof. Walking through the large bronze doors at the entrance, I was led by 2 assistants upstairs into a meeting room. Everyone stood up as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets. "Welcome, Mr. President. Please take your seats." Everyone took their seats. As you all know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. The aid we received from United Katana has helped us a lot, although I've heard some rumors that there are many people who oppose this decision, especially in a Lotharic group. Regardless of what they think, the capital will certainly be handy. We now have another weapon to combat the recession. Take nothing left from our friends. He says from Mr. President, "How are we doing in terms of infrastructure? The first month of positive indicators, but the delay of the infrastructure project reversed economic gains." Mikhail frowned and put his fingers on his chin. "Why can't we solve the L1 high-speed rail construction issues?" You're the co-chairman of the NBC. The NBC isn't happy with the lack of tangible economic improvements at all. Let's make sure it won't be unfair. We need to fix the issues, not punish people. Diviend, do you have any stats of the deal with Agnolia? Our trade deal with Agnolia has increased our imports and exports by 25% in 1 month, with much more expected to be in the future. But higher prices of Agnolian steel didn't result in a trade surplus. That seemed like a positive indicator. We agreed to a higher price, Mr. President. This is what we expected. But regardless of the surplus, they are an important partner to have. We should see our improvement relations with Agnolia as a stepping stone to expand positive influence. I swear our foreign initiatives with partners as democratic as Agnolia. I agree, aligning ourselves with more democratic countries is good for Sordland. It's good for the overall trade in other countries as well. Democratic countries generate more trust in general. Let's hear the stats with our deal from Wayland. Our trade deal with Wayland has increased our imports and exports by 60% in 1 month, which is a considerably good number. It's a dangerous gamble, but I'm glad it's starting to pay off. The payoff is high, yes, but so is the risk. Our support for the military operation was questionable. Regardless, the number is clear. I must say, I still can't get behind a trade deal with Wayland, especially if it involves a military cooperation. I feel like we have made a contract with the devil. Oh, this is the right decision. There's certainly no use deliberating that decision now. Increased trade has improved our economy. Really, it's gone down by 1 point, so what do I know? I see this as a reason for celebration. And a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to the pessimistic move caused by issues in our economy. I'm confident we will turn this mood around with adaptive projects and solutions. Good to hear. We will do better. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left. This isn't good for our reputation as the people expect quick solutions. We're running out of time. Simon passes a large dossier. Sadly, your budget reserves don't look good. We will need to look into whatever we can to increase the budget we have. What can we do about it? I will formulate a plan and present to you the next steps. As per our latest data, unfortunately, the recession seems to be lingering. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I'm sad to say we will be doomed. I mean, we're still at... Oh, we have 0... Okay, no. So we're at 0. We're no longer -2. So I'm assuming that's why it's gone down. We need to use opportunities as we are shown. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. Mr. President, I will be very clear. Simon took out his glasses and put them on the table. He looked at me straight in the eye. You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you, but we are unable to stop this recession. We are heading towards an economic catastrophe that we'll never seen before in Sordland. No, in the entire Eastern Maricopa. I can't believe to imagine how we could survive that. None of us want to see the Sordland people starve while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. As you said, none of us want that. Exactly. He puts on his glasses. Now, to help with the recession, there are a few possibilities I want to outline. We have a surplus, but regardless, even if we have to go into debt, we need to increase our economic development. I've prepared a few projects. There are 2 main distinctions between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increased production. If we continue on our infrastructure, that will lift us up to advanced country levels. However, industrial production suffered and needs to boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is, of course, the option of not taking any risk related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finalized soon. For now, I will provide preliminary information. Which one would you like to hear about first? What are the projects that could boost our production? For production, we have 2 projects. One is the Sarna Agricultural Zone, and the other is the Conrad Industrial City. I see the Sordland agricultural zone investment as a higher priority due to the fact that the farmers in Bergia were hit most by the recession. Sordland also is a much poorer city than Conrad. The Conrad Industrial City project has potential to increase manufacturing in the greater Sordland region by a large amount. Conrad could benefit from a larger manufacturing industry. It would bring the city to a position that could rival Latvian. We should invest and develop Conrad to diversify the economy in greater Sordland, which would mean a great deal. Manufacturing investments are the kind of investments we need for a healthy economy and our current strength. Conrad is a developing city with a bunch of potential, while Sordland and Bergia regions are lackluster. I have enough information. Does anybody who wants to add something? Nobody answered. That concludes the meeting. Have a good day, all. Goodbye. Until next time, Mr. President. See you soon. The meeting has ended. It's gonna cost 2 budget? 2 budget? Like, I'm... Okay, fine. Let's go to the industrial zone. It's very, 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 very expensive. Very expensive. Like, stupidly expensive. Okay, what are people saying about it? Wayland border reinforcements have been announced. Housewives march to defend Swedish tradition in Arica. Rayne closes the door to refugees from Wayland. I mean, okay, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound great. Sordland State construction delays railway construction. Operation Bear Trap. Yes, I mean, like, things are not... They could be going better, okay? And the budget allocation for healthcare. I was having my afternoon tea in my office and was going through newspapers. One of the headlines piqued my interest. It read, Polio Crisis in Wayland. Before I could start reading, I heard a couple of knocks. Pascal entered, followed by Lucien. Mr. President, it's time for the scheduled healthcare meeting. Good afternoon. Please take your seats. They take their seats and Pascal produced documents from his suitcase and put them on the table. Pascal looked at the newspaper I was reading. Very troubling news for Wayland, Mr. President. I just returned from a meeting with our top scientists on the matter of polio. It seems to be spreading. What are we doing to prepare? We have notified all of our healthcare staff, especially the ones closer to the Wayland border. Unfortunately, there are also more rural areas where we lack equipment and staff. What I was told by researchers is that with the current infection rate, we'll soon be millions of people affected by polio. We need to be ready for any possibility. I doubt it's that serious yet. Regardless, back on topic, Mr. Bennywall. Pascal put on his reading glasses and went through the documents. He didn't say anything for a whole minute. Mr. Bennywall? Yes, of course, let's start. In general, I'm very confident about the budget decisions that were made. This comes as no surprise, as I know you are a man of your word. The overall mood has been positive as the administration focuses more on healthcare. I'm excited about what we can achieve with the allocated funds. Do you have any specific areas in focus in mind? I'm personally invested to solve the horrible infant mortality death rates along with your request. As you know, I'm preparing a new privatization program that would create funds through selling unused ministry property and some extra taxes. I know this too, Pascal, but it goes against our economic doctrine. Additionally, health is a key sector people expect to have in public hands. Aside from creating additional funds, there's a long-term privatization in a country like Sordland. You are right, there might be structural issues, especially due to private greed and market manipulation. Also, in a country where most people don't have access to quality healthcare. I do agree with that there is some concern there, but the benefits and competitive and quality services is greater. This is not Arcadia or Lesbia. You're talking about Sordland, in which healthcare is free for now. We have people who have had their lives depending on a service that is free to them. Messing with that structure will definitely hurt us politically in the future. That I know for sure. But the choice is yours, Mr. President. We'll keep the healthcare in state control. Don't allow any private involvement that could endanger core health services. As you wish, the health services shall remain in public hands. Good choice. Now let's get to the big question of how we will spend the extra funds dedicated to the Ministry of Health. What are your suggestions? We have 3 options to use the majority of our funds on. We can build new hospitals where needed. We can spend money to increase salaries for healthcare workers, or we can spend money on improving existing treatment in rural areas. I think we should improve. Yeah, rural areas seem like it could make sense. Our rural clinics are old, ill-equipped, and understaffed, which is a huge urban and rural disparity. It's one of the causes of maternal deaths and other sicknesses, which is what I want to solve within this term. Reports have shown that minor epidemics are spreading in certain areas, due to old facilities with a lack of hygiene and equipment. I believe improving treatment in rural areas should be our focus, Mr. President. It would be best to consider the political advantages of each one, as well as the practical advantages before making a decision. A few minutes went by in contemplation as the moment to make a decision became clear. Yes, let's improve rural healthcare. New contracts for improvements will be drawn up immediately. That is all then. Very well. Fruitful meeting, nevertheless. Nice and short. Thank you for the meeting. Okay, so that's going well. We have pandemic fallout. Not great. And we have quality rural health services. Ishval Isrin is right. Troubling justified case of Israel Urin is making its way for the lower courts of administrative justice. Systematic racism around the country. Thousands protest new governor of Hajiland. Thousands in Hejli Port took to the streets to protest the Agnolian government's increased control over Hejiland's administration following the appointment of a new governor. Okay, talks with Franz Richter about the upcoming vote. You're just probably talking about the soon-to-be, I'm sure, conflict in this island. Okay, so the preparations for the new constitution were nearly complete. Soon we will be going to propose it to the Grand National Assembly, a huge step for administration. Well, we desperately need more votes. Therefore, I invited Franz Richter to talk to him about the upcoming vote and to ensure the PFJP supports the new constitution. He is the key to our success. We met in the presidential office during the evening. He arrived in a signature navy blue suit and gifted me a box of famous Arcasian chocolates before settling down on the couch. It's good to have you here, Mr. Richter. Likewise, it's nice to be here. He took out a small notepad and looked into it. I have to say, I'm surprised by your proposal. You're prepared for the new constitution, but I really do not understand the reason behind some of the changes here. What parts do you not understand? I don't know where to begin. You have ignored our demands to decrease the undemocratic constitutional threshold. How are you calling this democratic package? Be a realist, Mr. Richter. The proposal is the best we can do. A realist? Is that your excuse, Mr. President? So this proposal is realistic, but what we demand is not? And you're saying that when your party needs our support and change in order to make you need our support to make meaningful change. Be it small or great, a step forward is a step forward. While that's true, that shouldn't stop anyone from trying their best. I tried my best. That being said, I'd be willing to support a proposal even though I don't find it sufficient, but I'm not sure what to make of this yet. What are you thinking about? You're putting all the reformists in a tough spot like this, Mr. Rayne. I'm sure it was tough to persuade your party to support this proposal, but this is what happened when you expect the USP to bring change. Don't expect me to sympathize with you. Not only you minimize potential reforms, but you're also taking a spotlight as it was not. Okay, but you were also taking the spotlight as if it was not the PFJ who campaigned for these reforms for years. You better have something else to offer. I'm sure you have something in mind. I've been sworn in democracy before more than anything, Mr. Rayne, and I also have to look out for myself and my party too. Surely you understand. And if we're talking about democracy here, first I need to promise that you're not going to cast a shadow over PFJP anymore. You'll give us proper credit and finally do something about the unbalanced representation of our party in the state television. Sure. You know what? We can give you some more time on television. Then I can say I'll be happy to cooperate with you, Mr. President. I will hold you to your promise. I'm happy to cooperate with you two. Was there anything else? You know what? I will bring it up. Before you leave, I'd like to ask you something about some things I've heard about you. What things? There's so many things said about me that I can't keep track of them anymore. What's your relationship with Dwayne Walker, who is the president, right? There are some rumors circulating about you're closest to him. I have met with Mr. Walker before, so I'm the largest opposition leader of Sordland and free to travel and see anyone. Well, let me explain to you the context of the relationship. As you know, the downfall of President Alfonso was abrupt. He was the only progressive hope we had in the USP. A rivalized with him to accomplish great things, but we ran into a very worrying revelation. At our last meeting before the USP abandoned him, President Alfonso said that Sol was not gone and still pulled the string behind his back. He was suspicious about the conspiration against his reformist agenda, and he feared everything would collapse around him. And it did. Afterward, the party voted you in, and I don't think it was a coincidence, Mr. Rayne. You're saying I was elected because Sol wanted it? I don't know. But your candidacy was definitely connected to the old guard. After seeing the clear picture that the soulless deep state was real and had such extensive influence that could topple presidents, He looked down for a second and continued. We're in this together, so I'll be honest. I lost hope that Sordland would achieve the liberties and democracy that we worked so hard for with soulism, still being attacked and powerful, so I decided to act. Act how? I knew that I had to play by the rules when I was contacted by the Acadian senator, one of Acadia's biggest tycoons, and I decided to agree to the meeting in hopes of receiving support. I flew to Arcadia and eventually met with President Walker. He offered a political and economic support for me and my party, asking us to lead Sordland into the democratic sphere, and become a member of the ATO. But I couldn't agree to his exploitative request that would have crippling effects to our economy. I told him that I was only there to increase economic cooperation and nothing else, and I did not have their support, nor did anything illegal. To this day, I feel ashamed to have gone to the defeat of Arcadia, but at least I've managed to stop myself from becoming the very thing I'd be frightened against. I'm grateful that you're telling me all this. Thanks for taking it so well. We must always be honest with one another. You have the authority to investigate this and potentially prosecute me for it. I gave you my trust with this. I hope I have yours too. I will always acknowledge my wrongs to keep fighting for a better future. I believe we are no different in this. You know what? I'll trust you, Mr. Victor. It means a lot coming from you. Anyways, if you want to discuss this topic further, you can call me later sometime. I don't have anything to hide. I gotta get going now, if you excuse me. Thank you for the meeting. It's nice to have a president that we can finally have a dialogue with. He laughed. I'll see you in a historic vote. Have a nice evening now. Okay, so you are... I decided to keep the healthcare system and state control. I improved rural healthcare, and I persuaded France to support the constitutional changes. I mean, I convinced him rather easily, I would say. The SSC, okay, so you guys are all putting forward bids to win a whole contract. Look, I have no money, okay? So we're going to keep on with this sort of state company. But I do think that at least for right now, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching. My name is Anthnwam. If you've enjoyed, run a thumbs up. Not enjoyed, throw some down. If you want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.